2015 Swiftpage Marketing Mondays. That's our new name this year. We've got some great training coming up for the year, but we're going to jump into this one. This is what I call one of our foundational trainings. This is like, if you don't do the stuff that we're going to talk about today, it's going to come back to haunt you. And if you do it from the beginning, you're going to get overall much better results with the email marketing that you do undertake. So everything that we're going to talk about today is not super sexy, but it's super necessary. And it's also a chance for you to ask whatever questions that you have to get the very, very best result that you should be getting for your email marketing. So our agenda was sent out to you when you registered. If you didn't get it, this is the link, but I will also be sending it out with the recording, which you will get tomorrow if you're signed up and you're on this call, or if you signed up but you're not on this call. You will still get a recording after the fact tomorrow, and it will come with all of the resources that we talk about, including this agenda, 10-part agenda, but also anything else that we cover that you might want to follow up with after we're done with our training today. I want to introduce also Todd Vio, who is on the phone with me. Todd, say hi.
Hello.
Usually we're in the same office, but we had a big snowstorm for St. Louis, which is where we're located, so we're in our separate locations. And so that'll be kind of fun. We haven't done this separated yet, have we, Todd? I don't think so. Not in a long time.
I don't know.
So we're going to jump in, and I'm going to, am I doing this one or you're doing this one, Todd?
No, I'm in this one.
You're going to do this one. Okay, so
yep.
Todd, take it away on our first very important fundamental.
Okay. So there's a couple things by, Swiftpage is an email service provider. So there's a difference between email service providers and Outlook or your Gmail. Email service providers do a lot more than just simply send out the email. So if you're using Outlook, that means you also have somebody that hosts your email for you. Or if you're using Gmail, then Google is hosting your email for you. But their primary function through Outlook or Gmail is simply to send and receive email. That's all they're really set up to do. Email service providers like Swiftpage, they are set up to do a whole lot more, and the big one is that very first one is make sure that you're CAN-SPAM compliant. CAN-SPAM are the laws in the U.S. to say that you cannot email somebody without either a prior relationship, or you need to provide a way to give them to opt out. You also need to have your address on it, on the email, your physical address. So email service providers make sure that you're compliant with all of those rules. So they provide the ability for the end user to opt out if they so choose. So that's the law in the U.S. Now there's also Canadian laws now. Canadian laws are a lot more strict than the U.S. laws. Some of the email providers have some more of that, but the big one with the Canadian law is they have to opt in first. So you you can't just email anybody in Canada now without them requesting that email. So we're in the U.S., you have to give them the ability to opt out. Where in Canada, they have to request your email to begin with. So the email service providers provide that functionality, make sure that you're in compliance with those. Outlook and Gmail do not do any of that. It is up to you. If somebody replies to your email that they want to be opted out of your email, you have to keep track of that, and you have to make sure that you do not email them again. So that is a big one. Another one is a lot of the email providers through Outlook and Gmail, I'm not sure exactly what Google's number is, but a lot of them, if they see the same email going out over and over and over again, which is essentially what an email blast is, it's the same email going over and over to multiple recipients. A lot of the email providers will just shut those off. So there's usually a limit to how many that they'll allow to go through, and then they just delete everything after that. They don't even bother to send it. And sometimes you'll be notified that that's going to happen. A lot of times you don't even get that notification. You think that all your emails went out, when in reality just 10 of them maybe have gone out, and all the rest of them were just simply deleted. So a lot of email providers do that. Since you're sharing their service with a bunch of their clients, they don't want to risk being flagged as a spammer, so they're going to make sure that your emails are deleted and not flagged in any way. And then a few other things there. Swiftpage tracks your emails, so most email service providers will do this. They will track your emails, whether they opened it, clicked on anything. It'll prevent or create a call list for you from that. So it scores each recipient, how many times they clicked on something, how many times they opened your email, generates a score for each recipient, and then gives you a call list based on that score. So Swiftpage does that for you. It all gets downloaded back into your Act database. Outlook and Gmail does not do that at all. Okay?
You want to say anything about deliverability?
Oh, the deliverability. Yeah, sending it through a third-party service like Swiftpage, the deliverability is not quite as good as sending it through Outlook or Gmail. And the reason for that is, and we'll talk about that a little bit here in a minute, but when you're sending it through your own servers, the recipient's servers are going to notice where the email is coming from. And if it sees a third-party server sending an email to them through with your name on it, they are going to flag that as higher probability of being spam. So when it's sent through directly from your account, the recipient server notices that too and gives that a better score, better deliverability. So there are ways of getting around that, and we're going to show you that in a little bit to try to help with that. But anytime you use a third-party email provider, that is always a possibility that they're going to be higher level of flagged as a spam.
So it's a trade-off. If you pay for a service like Swiftpage, there's a lot that you're gaining. It's a much more professional way to handle your business so that you're not getting caught up with the compliance issues, but you are giving up some deliverability. However, if you are a consistent email marketer and you have consistent messages going out, and the receiving servers who you're sending your messages to get used to seeing you, and you can work on having your list of people that you're sending to whitelist you, or in other words, add you to their address books, over time you can build that up. And so it's worth it from the standpoint, in my opinion, it's worth it from the standpoint of being able to do better marketing, bigger marketing than the 10 to 50 to 250 emails that you're restricted to a day on personal accounts, and jeopardizing your server. We had that one client who was using their own server to send email blasts, and their server was blacklisted, and it prevented them from not only sending email blasts but personal email as well. So they were sending email invoices and statements out. None of that was getting delivered. So
yeah,
when
once you get on those blacklists, it's very difficult to get back off of that. So typically what you're going to do is you're going to have to move servers, move them around. So
that's a cheap insurance policy.
Right. Yeah, that's Swiftpage's problem then. So they're the one monitoring all of that, and they'll make sure that you're not blacklisted. Okay. So now to access Swiftpage, Swiftpage bought Act a few years ago, and they now completely integrated the e-marketing within the product. It used to be a separate add-on. Now it's completely integrated into the product. However, Swiftpage also came out with a new e-marketing product called Act E-Marketing. So Act eMarketing and Swiftpage eMarketing, those are two different products. They're not the same thing. The eMarketing menu item at the top and the eMarketing button over on the left, those are all Act eMarketing. Act eMarketing is well, do you want to talk about Act eMarketing, Lori, what that is? How would you describe that?
A program that is not ready for prime time yet.
Yeah.
In a nutshell, it's a $10 a month subscription. It's not fully workable yet, and I would avoid it at all costs.
Right. So it is. You would be in the debugging mode for them if you started using that. So do not use this one. Do not use the eMarketing that you see within Act. However, over on the right, there is an icon. It's a little cloud with the orange envelope on it. That is the Swiftpage eMarketing program. That is the one that you should be using. Whenever you click on that, it should take you to, flip to the next slide. Mm-hmm. You should see the button or the window over on the left. That is the Swiftpage eMarketing. It says Swiftpage eMarketing at the top of it, and it looks just like this. If you see the window over on the right, that's the Act eMarketing. You do not want to be using that. And if you have already signed up for an account or paid for that, you can get refunded for it and then switch over to the Swiftpage eMarketing. That's the one you want to be using.
And this is the program that they're working on. One of the advantages of being in the cloud is that software developers can develop their software on the fly without having to release software versions like Act has been historically throughout the years. So they're constantly making changes to this, and things are changing, but unless you like being frustrated and being on the cutting edge of products that are offered but not ready, I would avoid it. If you're trying to really get eMarketing out there and getting more leads and referrals coming in, this is just going to be a roadblock for you.
Right, and it doesn't do as much as the Swiftpage eMarketing does either. It doesn't have the call list or a lot of the information that the
drip marketing
does, or the drip marketing, correct. So, and Swiftpage eMarketing has been around for many years. It's been fully tested, fully proven, so that one works just fine. It's just the Act eMarketing that's brand new, and that's not ready for prime time yet.
And the templates are not interchangeable. So if you get started on one, they're not going to transfer to the other one. So that's right. Another reason to avoid it. Okay.
Okay, so now we want to, or do you want to start this and I'll explain it, or what are we doing?
Well, the first thing that we want to do when we're starting on an eMarketing program is to see how many emails we actually have, because without that, we're not going to be able to do any eMarketing. And so, Todd, give us a little run through about how we can find out exactly who we have on our list.
Okay. So under the lookup menu at the top of your Act screen, there is, you can go down and click on email address. So the lookup menu, then email. It pops up this lookup context window. The default is, it says field over on the left. It's going to be the email field. And if you pick something else and it's not email, you can just hit the drop-down list and select email there too. That works as well. But the middle section where the criteria is, we're going to change that to contains data. So there's a drop-down list there. It'll list a bunch of different options. The default is starts with, so that may be what's there to begin with. But we're going to change that to contains data. As soon as you do that, that blocks out that final column there. That's the column that you normally type into. That'll block that out so you can't type into it. What this is going to do is this is going to give you a lookup in your Act database of all the contacts that have something in the email address field. So they all, assuming that they're all formatted correctly, they would all have email addresses, all the contacts that have email addresses. So if you hit OK, that you'll get that list then.
All right, and we're going to talk about how to refine that more in just a little bit. So whatever your number is, you can compare that to the overall size of your database. That will tell you how much work you have to do in order to fill in any missing emails. But you also want to take stock of what is the source of the addresses that you had in your database. Because if you are a new Swiftpage user and you've you're just getting ready to send out some emails, and let's say that you've got 5,000 of them. Typically, Swiftpage will not allow you to send that many on the first shot. They're going to make you prove that you have good, valid email addresses that once they're being sent out are not going to bounce in a high number or opt out in a high number. And high is sort of a subjective evaluation on their part, but usually you don't want more than 1% opt-outs on the number sent, and you don't want more than about 10% bounce rates. That's being very generous. So initially, when you are first sending out your list, that's when you're going to have your highest amount of bounces and opt-outs. You're going to have the highest number of bad email addresses, especially if you've had your list for a long time but you've not done any email marketing. Those names are just sitting there getting older every day, and people are leaving. They don't work at that company anymore. They've changed domains, a million different things of how that address may not be good. And so if you're a new Swiftpage user, you're going to get a call from Swiftpage asking you a lot of very direct questions about what is the source of the data that you're going to be sending out through our servers. And so it's good to have a sense of where did you get that information? Did you get it directly from that client? Did you scrape it off the internet? Did you buy a list and put it in there? Those last two options are not the right answer to give to Swiftpage. You're going to get a lot of pushback from them to let you send out that list if that's your answer. I'm not suggesting that you don't tell the truth when that call comes, but that you know what you're dealing with on your list before you start putting that out into the universe. So one of the things that you can do if you're starting on a very serious e-marketing plan is to have an accurate email collection as a priority in your business, so that anybody who's customer facing gets in the habit of always asking and confirming email addresses when they talk to a client. You put your salespeople on some kind of a bonus system, or customer service people, some kind of a bonus system where whoever can collect the most email addresses in a month gets the grand prize. Or in some companies pay $1 per email collected, because even though that's kind of a high price, it's a great incentive, and it sets the habit of people collecting those addresses over as a habit over time, as opposed to a one-off kind of an engagement, and then that dollar repays itself over and over again throughout the year if you really are committed to your e-marketing plan. So those are good plans to put into place to keep your list being growing over time, not static and losing addresses and not replacing them, because you're going to find that people opt out at a much higher rate and their addresses bounce at a much higher rate than you can continue to add emails back into your database unless you have a system for doing that. And of course, the longer you go without sending anything to anyone on your list, the more chance you have of somebody opting out because they don't remember who you are. So that's not good, and we always want to try to have campaigns ready so that people at least remember you and keep you kind of top of mind. So let's say that you do that lookup and you come up with some very low percentage of email addresses out of your whole customer list. What can you do about that? So there are email appending services, some of them free, some of them a little bit of elbow grease versus paid for services, and then there are some paid for services as well. So we listed a few here. LinkedIn, probably everyone knows if you're connected to somebody on LinkedIn, if they have their contact information published, it's accessible to you, and you can do an export out of LinkedIn and import that directly into ACT, merge it with the contacts that you already have, add anybody new into ACT who you didn't already have in there, who you're connected to on LinkedIn, and that's perfectly legal, that's legitimate. You've essentially made a commitment with each other that you're going to share that kind of information, so I wouldn't abuse it with an email that you're sending out, but that's a legitimate use of your LinkedIn account. So it does pay to have kind of an ongoing connection system for being having people be aware of you on LinkedIn. ZoomInfo is a company that was ultimately bought by Salesforce. That's another service that allows you to get email addresses through an exchange service, exchange system where you give some information to get some information. Contact Capture is an ACT add-on company, and that product is, actually the company is called Broadlook, but the product is called Contact Capture. And that's a free email capture service that if you have people emailing you and their contact information is in an email signature, for example, you can turn on Contact Capture. It'll scan that, or not scan, what would you call that, Todd? Just highlight that.
Well, you highlight it and it'll scan it, right?
Okay. And then it automatically imports it into your ACT database, so you can use that on any kind of electronic list, an Excel spreadsheet, an online directory. But again, if you're scraping email addresses off the internet, you need to be very, very careful and try to obtain permission in some way before you send to them. And then we have a service within our company that you can give us your list, and we will append any missing email addresses. We can also ping the ones that you have to make sure that they're good. So that's kind of a little bit of an expensive service, but if you've got a lot of names and you don't have a lot of time to dial them all and get them confirmed, it's a very cost-efficient way to do that. All right, so Todd, now we're going to turn it back over to you to talk about, once you've got this list and you're ready to go, what's the best way to segment your list, and how can I categorize who I've got?
Okay. So ACT has a field in it called ID/status. This field has a drop-down list. All the drop-down lists within ACT are customizable. So at the bottom of the list it says Edit List Values. You can see that on the screen here. If you click that, you can go in, you can modify the drop-down list and add anything you want or modify it however you want. It also can be set up in the default to a multi-select. So you can see there's little check boxes just to the left of each item on the drop-down list. So ID status is how you categorize your contacts. We recommend every record in your database has an ID status. It is also possible to even flag ID status as a required field. So somebody entering a new record into the database cannot exit the record until they filled in that field. That might be one of the fields that you select that. I wouldn't go crazy with that option, but you could have a few fields that are required, and ID status is one of them that we recommend you do that. So, but as you're entering the contact into the database, you just go down that list there and check off every single item on the list that matches the status for this particular contact, the category that you want to categorize this contact with. So, and you can have as many of those as you want. So just keep checking all the ones that apply. Okay. Lori. Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Sorry.
All right. So once you have the contacts flagged in ID status, you can now create groups, and groups are what Swiftpage uses to send out your emails. So these are the subset of contacts that you want to send an email to. So you can create as many groups as you want. The groups button is over on the far left. So when you click on the button, the group's over on the left. Then you can click New at the top and create a new group. So give it a name. It's going to blank out the screen. Has a group at the top. You just type in the name that you want to call this. So if you have a prospect's ID status or you have a customer's ID status, you're going to send different emails to different types or categories of contacts. You don't want to send the same email to every single person in your database. You want to customize the email based on what type of contact they are. So you'd want to create a group for each one of those types. And once you have that group created, you click Add Remove Contacts right there in the screen, in the middle of the screen. You can see it's highlighted there, or he's pointing to it. So that is that will bring up another window, and this window is how you can set up the criteria for it. So it looks like this. You can come in and add any criteria to it, and whenever a contact matches that criteria, they automatically get added to the group. So you can create as many different criteria for it as you want, but these are the ones that you typically would do. So if you want for a specific salesperson, that's record manager equal to Lori Feldman in this case. You don't have to do that, but if you wanted to, you can. In my example, it might be ID status equals prospect. So at the top there it says field name, operator value. So you put in ID status, operator equal to, and then the value. There's a drop-down list. So it actually gives you the drop-down list from ID status. You can just select it off of there. Hit add to list and then add it to the screen here. And then you can just keep adding until you get everything you want. So it might be ID status equal to prospect and email contains data. So there's that same lookup that we did earlier. We want to make sure that every contact in this, because this is going to be used for an email blast, we want to make sure every contact in the group has an email address. So if the contact does not, they automatically get removed from this group. But if later on you go back in and fill in that email address into that contact, now that contact has an email address, you get put right back into the group. So it just automatically takes care of all that for you by setting up this criteria. And then we're going to talk about opt-in in just a minute, but we create a field to track any opt-ins or opt-outs in our database, so that if somebody calls us up or hits reply on their email and says, take me off your list, that is the place you're going to do it. So we have a field in our database for that. Swiftpage will track anybody that clicks on the footer of your email that says opt out. There's a button at the footer that Swiftpage automatically adds, and if somebody goes down there and clicks that opt out button down there,
I think it says leave this list.
Oh, leave this list, sorry. Leave this list. So if anybody clicks on that, Swiftpage will track that automatically for you. But there are still times where somebody may just call you up and say, take me off your list. Or they can hit reply on their email and type in, take me off your list. Swiftpage does not track any of that. So you still have to track that information. So we create a field in our database. We call it opt-in. And I'll show you that in just a minute how we did that. But we use it to track it. So that opt-in now also needs to be added to our criteria here in this group to make sure that opt-in does not contain data. So it says that's another operator on the drop-down list, does not contain data, meaning opt-in is blank and they have not opted out. So that creates the group. Now we have 6,600 contacts in our group, 613. You can see at the bottom there. If we hit OK, it would take us back to the group, and all of our contacts would be automatically added to that. Now we're ready to, that's the first step in sending out an email through Swiftpage, is we have to have a group created with all of our contacts in it. That's the first thing that we need to do. Okay? Okay, so completing the ACT record, the My Record. So when you first open up ACT, the first time you open it up, the first record that it takes you to when you click on the Contacts button is called your My Record. It should have your contact information in it. So it'll have your name, email address, phone number, all that. That should be your information. And the reason why it's important is the signature part of all of your correspondence is based on that email address. So we want to make sure that you have that complete, accurate, and filled out. So while Swiftpage, when you created the Swiftpage account, it pulled all that information from this record to create that account. So you can go in and update the account if you want to, but this is also pulled for your signature, especially if you do it through Outlook. Send anything through Outlook, this is where it pulls that signature every single time. So make sure everything is complete, accurate, so that when your emails go out, the signature has all of your contact information in it.
Yeah,
Nothing
and
worse
Todd,
than sending an email without contact information in it.
Exactly. And the other way that this will become important is if you're using a Swiftpage account where you're doing a send as, so one person in the office is sending the email for everybody in the office, and you want those individual emails signed by the person who's the record manager. That information is going to be pulled from each salesperson's My Record, so if that's not filled out, it's not going to be personalized for that salesperson.
Okay. Okay, so this was the opt-in field I was talking about earlier. We're not going to talk about how to create fields in your ACT database in this webinar. There are some instructions you can get in ACT how to do that. Also, there's, if you don't know how to do that, there's also some user fields in ACT. You can use one of the user fields for this as well. It's just nice having a field that's called opt-out or opt-in, and then having a drop-down list on it that is set. So you can see this is an example of ours. We've been doing this for many, many years, and over that time we've put in a bunch of stuff in there that we thought we needed to track, and it turns out we really didn't need to track all that stuff. So we have a lot of stuff in here that we don't really use. The main ones are those three kind of right in the middle: do not email, do not fax, do not mail. That's really the only ones that you need, and just set those up in on your drop-down list. Or you can just, if it's a user field, you won't have a drop-down list, so you can just type it in. Just type it in exactly like that. So we use this field. Somebody calls us up, says, take me off of your list. We go to their record. We look for the opt-in field. We just select from the drop-down list, do not email. Simple as that. Now, because we have that in our group as part of the criteria, that automatically removes them from all of our marketing groups, so that they will not be included in any future email campaigns that we send out. Okay.
Okay, so one of the biggest complaints that we hear all the time, is how difficult it is to use the Swiftpage content editor to create templates. And it is very tricky. It's an old interface. It helps to know HTML. You shouldn't have to know it, but when you get stuck and you're trying to troubleshoot, it helps to know it. And so a lot of times the best way to get emails out quickly is to just avoid the whole template creation thing altogether. Now, a lot of people say, oh, I have to have my logo, and I have to have 16 colors, and I have to have a picture of my building, and all of that's fine, but I am not a fan of overly designed emails, because those are the ones that get trapped in the spam folder most often. Those are the hardest to deliver, and they look more like advertising than an email that you would sit down in Outlook or Gmail and type personally. So I'm not saying that there's never a need to send out a beautiful email. There are times when that's just totally appropriate. But for general correspondence, general email information that you want to send out, a lot of times you don't need something that highly designed. So you can have a very basic template already set up that only has your salutation and a personal message. And I'm going to have Todd talk about how to create it. But this is a workaround, and a very fast workaround, to the problem of setting up a template every time you want to send out an email. So Todd, take it away.
Okay. So within Swiftpage, they give you a lot of default templates. So templates that you can start out with, they're called global templates. So the global templates are read-only templates that are just a basic starting point. So one of them that we use quite often is called blank. You can see right there in the middle, blank, one column, no header. If you go into global templates, copy this, give it a name, and you can see on ours, you can kind of see at the top there, it's a little small, but it says underscore Aviva Master. Can you point to that, Lori? Yeah, there you go. So this is the name that we give it. The reason why we use the underscore at the beginning is it pushes it right up to the very top. That way we always can spot it very, very quickly. It's right there at the top. But you can call it whatever you want, but put that little underscore in front of it. That pushes it at the top, or any symbol. It doesn't really matter what it is. So we copied it, created we called it underscore Aviva Master, and then we edited the template, and this is all we put in there. This is, and actually this is kind of an old slide. We use first name now instead of salutation for all of our templates. But there's a mail merge drop-down list there on the editor. you can select first name, and then on the next line down, we have SPE personal message. I don't know if there's a, actually it may be under the, oh yeah, there you go, sorry, right at the top. So personal message right there at the top. So this is the only thing that's in that template. And what this is going to do is we save this, and then what this is going to do when we open up our Swiftpage to send out our email, go ahead and go to the next slide. This is the Swiftpage window that we saw earlier. This is how we send out an email in Swiftpage. Right in the middle of it that we have highlighted, we have selected the template of _Aviva Master. You see that there's the selected template. We put in our subject line, and it opens up this little personal message window. This is, so now going forward, anytime we need to get out an email quickly, all we got to do is use this template and then just type in the message that we have at the bottom. You can actually see we put first name in there again. We don't have to do that because we've already got it in our template, so we could leave that out. But you just type in the message that you want below it. You'd select the context you're going to send it to at the top. We either do a current lookup, or we could just do a selected group. We could select our group that we had created earlier, and then you just hit send out the bottom and send it out. So every time you're ready to send an email, that's all you got to do. Select this template, type in the message and the subject line, select the group, send, gone. Don't have to mess with templates at all. All we're going to do is just fill in that personal message. So when you put that personal message mail merge into that template, that opens up that personal message window for us, that allows us to type in there. That's what that's doing. Anything else you want to say on that, Lori?
Nope. You still get your tracking. You still get to know who opened. If you want to put a URL in here for them to click on, that's still going to show up. And you get all the benefits of the call list and the tracking that you would on a normal template, but you didn't spend, 2 hours trying to create the perfect template.
Yeah, and if you want to put a header on that the master template, you can as well. So if you want to add anything else there, it does work for that. It's mainly that personal message. You have to have that mail merge in there in order for that window to open up. Okay, so the SPF record. So we talked about earlier the differences between Outlook, Gmail, and Swiftpage. And one of the things that we talked about was deliverability. So using an email service provider like Swiftpage, the deliverability is lower than if you send it through Outlook or Gmail for where your personal email is. But one of the ways to try to help that out is to create this SPF record. It's kind of a very technical thing, but the nice thing about it is you can, whoever is hosting your domain, so we use GoDaddy for our domains. They have the databaseDiva.com, which that we send our emails through. So they're hosting that for us. They will help us out with a lot of this, so we don't have to know how to do all this. But I'm going to show you first how to create an SPF record. That SPF record goes on your domain, so it connects to your domain. And so that way when you send out an email, what happens is the recipient's server, so whoever's receiving the email from you, their server, goes and checks your domain to see if it has an SPF record. If it does, that SPF record lists IP addresses that say, anybody sending me from this IP address, these are okay. These are fine IP addresses. And so that's what we're doing, is we're taking Swiftpage's IP addresses, we're putting it into your domain, and that way we're telling any recipient, if you're receiving an email from this IP address, it's okay to receive that. That's what that's for. So this right here, at the top, I have explaining what it is, the Wikipedia page. This explains exactly what it is. If you want to go read more about it, you can. That's kind of a general synopsis what I gave you. But below, this tells you this is how you go and create that SPF record. So Swiftpage is going to create that record for you. All you got to do is you then send it off to whoever is hosting your domain and say, please add this to my domain. And we use GoDaddy. I would just email that to GoDaddy, say, here, please add this to this domain. They would do it for me, and I'm done. That's all there is to it. You may have to do it yourself, so you may have to contact the support of whoever's hosting your domain and ask them about that, see how they do that, or if you can look in support somewhere. Either way, you're going to need to have that SPF record to give to them. So if you go to that site at the bottom, fill out the information below. If all it's asking you is for your contact information and your domain. So you put in the domain that you're emailing from. In our case, it's thedatabasedeva.com. And then they will email you back that SPF record. So go to the next page, please. Slide, please. So I send that off to GoDaddy. I ask them to put that in. GoDaddy sends back, says, okay, it's in. Now you can test to make sure that that's complete. So if you go to this page and type in your domain there, then hit Get SPF Record, it should list it out, and it should look exactly like what Swiftpage had sent you with all of their IP addresses in it. So if it does not, then there's something wrong. You need to go back to support and say something's not right there. Please fix this. So this is to help with deliverability, since it's coming from a third-party program with different IP addresses from what your normal domain has. So that's the reason why we do this. We put in, say, telling all those recipient servers, anything that's coming from this IP address, these are all okay. That's what this is for.
Okay, so can I translate from Todd geek speak to normal human speak? So basically, that was pretty good, though. I have to say that was a good explanation. Right. But pretty much all you need to know is go to this link, swiftpage.com/deliverability SPF record, fill this out, get your information, and send it to your hoster. Todd, you can correct me if I'm paraphrasing wrong. And then after you're notified that it's set up, go test and make sure that it is, and you've just improved your deliverability. That's all you need to know. This is important because, again, as we talked about in the beginning, as Todd mentioned, deliverability is not as good on a third-party. It's not Swiftpage. It's any third-party email service provider as it would be if you were sending from Gmail or Outlook. But to get better deliverability, you need to take this extra step. So we're giving you the tools to do that. You can also send a note to support@swiftpage.com. If you're confused about it, you can also ask us. We'll be happy to walk you through. But it's just a good precaution. And haven't we done that, like renewed that every couple of years? Don't we send it in again?
We did a few years ago because Swiftpage changed all of their IP addresses. So they upgraded their servers and everything changed. They did notify us, though, that we needed to update that. So you don't have to go and check that out. They haven't changed anything. It's been a number of years now, so they haven't changed anything since then. So the one that we had from years ago is still valid.
Okay. All right, and these are the two links. You have it on your handout, as well as if you download the PDF, you should be able to click on it. You can become familiar with the CAN-SPAM laws for both Canada and U.S. Canada doesn't call it. I think Canada calls it anti-spam. I can't remember what they call it. It's got a different name. It's not CAN-SPAM is U.S. But become familiar with the rules so that you know not to break them. And that's our last tip for you, but we're going to take questions. I have a couple of other things to share with you, but be thinking of your questions while I'm moving to this next slide.
Oh, and on your GoToMeeting panel or GoToWebinar panel, there's a place for questions. So if you go into that, you can type in your questions there, and they'll appear on our screen.
Great, thank you. So this is our schedule coming up of our classes through March. And we're calling them our Marketing Mondays. We do our training every Monday. It's either every week or every other week. The schedule is going to vary this year. So we just completed this Preparing Your Act Database for Email. We've got one more fundamental coming up on the 23rd, which is Import Magic. That one probably generated more questions than any other training that we've ever done. I was actually surprised that the last time we did this, that there were so many questions about it, because there are an awful lot of ways to get data into your database, including survey web forms that you can set up in your Swiftpage account that don't cost any more than the subscription that you're paying for right now. It's included in your subscription. So we cover a lot of ways to get new data into your database. That's a really good one. And then starting in March, we're going to have our Treasure Triangle series. And for those of you who have been following us for a while, we follow the Treasure Triangle strategy of email marketing. So what we kind of talked about today was a lot of email blast stuff, getting ready to start sending out email blasts, but there's really 3 components to a full-blown, fully productive email marketing system, and that's besides emails, doing an email newsletter and also including drip marketing. So through March, we're going to be having a training session on each one of these. The first 2 do have a charge associated with them, but the third one on drip marketing will be free, and I've given this one probably a million times in the last 5 years. I'm going to change it up and talk about some stuff that I've never talked about before. So if some of you have been on that one again in the past, it would be a good one to attend again, because I'm going to include some new information that will really help you get your drip marketing off to a good start this year, and that'll be March 16th. So we're still pretty much in first quarter. If you implement a lot of the things that we're going to teach you over the next couple of months, then you have the whole year to really get your ROI going on all that. So hope you'll join us for some of those. And the last thing I want to mention is that the Swiftpage stuff, I think it's really fun. A lot of people think of it as a big drudgery, but everybody knows how important it is. So we do a lot of the training for Swiftpage now. They send us a lot of new users. So if one of you on the call came from Swiftpage, thank you for coming and seeing us. But we're long-time Swiftpage users as well as trainers, and we are one of the biggest resellers of the program throughout the world. But what we've noticed in the last few years since Swiftpage bought ACT is their focus kind of detoured, and they're very focused on keeping ACT up to date and getting new features added and getting the support plans sold that come with that program, and not too much is being done to support the Swiftpage product. So we created our own support plan, which you can get for an entire year. It includes unlimited calls, emails, and Skype chats with Todd and me, which works out to less than $30 a month. We're offering $50 off through Friday if you're interested in taking us up on that. The people who are on this plan absolutely love it. They have immediate access to us as opposed to calling Swiftpage and sitting on hold for a long time and then getting transferred overseas. So this is a nice way to get pretty much Todd and I answer the phone all day long. So it's very easy to get a hold of us. When you're doing email stuff, you need to get answers immediately because you've got deadlines. You've got to get stuff out there. It's very important that you stay on track, and you can't do that if you're not getting the help you need. So besides unlimited calls and emails for up to 20 minutes, we also help with, of course, with email, but with the drip marketing module as well, with helping you get surveys set up, and surveys are also web forms that you can stick on your website, and that's a sure way of getting more leads coming into your database. So we strongly encourage that you think about that if this is going to be an important part of your marketing mix this year. And also, if you sign up for our support plan, these training sessions are included, and that's up to a $700 value for the year instead of coming to our weekly trainings and everything being up to us what you learn when. You can have the instant access, but then drop in and listen in on these trainings as you go, or have other people in your office listen to them, and it's a great way of building your skill set with doing email marketing. So that's my little pitch on that. Let's go over to questions. Todd, any?
Yeah. Paul says, can you show how to set up my record? So my record is when you first open up ACT. So if you close out of ACT, open it back up, log in, go to the contacts button, the very first record you see will be your My Record. That's your contact information. So you don't have to go anywhere. That's the first thing that pops up, first contact that pops up. Fill that out. If you're already in ACT, you can go to Lookup Menu and click My Record, and that will be your My Record as well. So that's the one that should have your contact information, have everything filled out with your all of your information. And then we have somebody asking about the recording. This session is recorded. You will receive a link tomorrow. It'll come from GoToWebinar, so with the link of the recording on it, as well as the handouts that we have already attached in the email that you received with the invitation. But they'll come again in the email that you received tomorrow. And John Marshall says he has this Swiftpage support plan, and it's great.
Thank you, John. You don't call us enough,
right.
though.
Jim asks, after you send the blast, how many days should you wait to review reports? Or you want to take that one?
Sure. If you're like us, you can't hardly stand it to wait, so we usually open up the call list on as a separate tab on our desktop, and then just keep hitting the F5 function 5 button, which is refresh, and you can kind of watch it in real time. You can't download scores until midnight. After midnight each day, Swiftpage's servers refresh that data for download purposes after midnight, but you can, Swiftpage Online, if you look at the call list online, is refreshed in real time if you just hit F5. So when you say how long do you want to wait, if you're giving it to salespeople, I would say 2 days to get a fully loaded call list. But if you're just doing it for yourself and you're curious, I would just kind of watch it, you know, as soon as you hit the send. People open it up immediately to about 24 hours later, and then dribbles and drabs come in if people are out of town or whatever. But it is kind of fun to watch the numbers change every time you hit the refresh button.
All right, so Jim also asks, what is the opt-out percentage or bounce rate that is acceptable?
Oh, good question. All right. If you are really managing your list, you should only have a fraction, like a tenth of 1% of an opt-out on anything that you send. If you get up above 1%, you're going to start getting your account red flagged by Swiftpage. So you want to try to manage that as best you can. In the beginning, when you're first starting out with your account, it is going to be harder because you have to get a baseline for where you are with your list, and you don't really know until you send stuff out. So it's going to be more in the beginning, but if you keep at it and you email regularly, those numbers will go down. In terms of bounces, I'm trying to think. Do you know off the top of your head, Todd, what ours are? It's like a small percentage now.
Yeah, it's not very much. We also flag those as well. So Swiftpage will give you a list of those, and we flag them in our database in the opt-in field if there's a problem with them, and then we have somebody call and try to get those corrected. So as they do, we take that out of the opt-in, it goes back into our list, and now hopefully we have a good email address so it's not bouncing.
Yeah, bounces and opt-outs are both good lead sources because something has happened where they were interested and then all of a sudden they're not interested and they're opting out. That's an opportunity, and as well as bounces typically means the person you used to call on or was an important contact for you is no longer there. And, you know, did somebody take their place? Did they move to a different department? So those are really good lead follow-up opportunities.
Okay, and then he also asks, what day of the week is best to send the blast?
Oh, our favorite question. That is really going to be a matter of you testing it. The hot ones that are proven over and over again are Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays if you're B2B. If you are B2C, then you might be able to throw in a Friday or a Saturday. But I can tell you for us, it's usually a Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. Fridays have been good as well. I think there are a lot of people who stay late at work and catch up on their email before they go home. Saturdays have not been good for us. Sundays have not been good for us. Occasionally Monday is good. So part of what you should do in the beginning when you're first starting out is create a spreadsheet. And in one of our other trainings, we have that spreadsheet available. So if somebody would like it, let me know and I'll send it to you. But the spreadsheet has a way for you to track all the important metrics, and then over time you can kind of look and see what days are better, or split your list in half and try different days with the same subject line, same template, but just send it out at different days and times and then record your results. And so over time you can tell for your company what works best. There's really not a set date and time, otherwise we would all be only getting email on those days, and obviously that's not the case, so it's going to vary.
Okay, and can you create a call list and act from a bounce list? Last question, he promises.
Ask away, Jim. I love it. Great questions. Go ahead, Todd, that's a good one for you.
Okay, yeah, so the answer to that is essentially no, but we also talk about this in one of our training sessions, is what to do with those and how to get those back into ACT. You can download the list from Swiftpage into a spreadsheet, and that can be then imported into ACT and update your contact with the opt-in field and with the all the bounce. So, but yeah, we kind of go into more detail of how to do that in one of the other sessions, but it can be done. But you can also do it manually. But download the Swiftpage in your reports will give you that bounce list. It's one of the reports in there in a spreadsheet form where you can then go into ACT and update that and update those individual records.
It sends you the CSV file.
Yes, it sends you CSV file, which you can open with Excel.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can either import that or just open them with Excel and manually update them.
All right, did we do good?
That's it.
All right, thank you everybody, and be sure to send us any questions that you have from this training. Watch your email tomorrow for the recording and a list of resources that we've mentioned, and hope to see you on our next training.